to Cybercast. I'm your host, Nikki Henderson. As the use of mobile devices continues to rise, so does the number of threats targeting them. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement believes implementing zero trust principles on mobile devices is key to the protection of data. ICE is using special capabilities such as mobile threat detection, which looks at behavior on devices and helps create a more consistent user experience. There are also a number of challenges that ICE is trying to overcome, such as phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication, while trying to integrate disparate zero trust solutions with mobile applications. ICE CISO Rob Thorne also spoke with me about some of the exciting cyber initiatives underway at the agency, including launching a vulnerability exploitation team and focusing on cyber hygiene activities that will help boost their zero trust journey over the next 2 years. Today's Cybercast episode is sponsored by Datadog. Datadog is a full-stack SaaS monitoring and security platform, enabling the seamless correlation of infrastructure metrics, application traces, and security logs. Government agencies utilize Datadog to break down silos between developers, operators, business, and security teams to get to a single source of truth and provide optimal citizen experience. To learn more about how Datadog supports government agencies and how full-stack monitoring breaks down silos between teams, please visit datadoghq.com/cybercast. Thank you for taking out time today to talk with me about the role that Zero Trust plays in ICE's overall cybersecurity strategy and some of the cyber initiatives underway at your agency. So before we begin, do you mind introducing yourself and just briefly describing your role at ICE?
Yeah, absolutely, I can. So first and foremost, Nikki, thank you for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. I always enjoy the opportunity to talk about some of the kind of interesting stuff we're doing here at ICE. Anyway, Rob Thorne, Chief Information Security Officer at ICE. I've been a leader in the federal government for over 20 plus years, designing, implementing cybersecurity programs, actually for both federal agencies as well as industry. I've been with ICE now for 12 years. I've been in my current role for 7 years. I have a team of about 50 outstanding and super talented federal employees and about 150 contractors. People ask me, they always say, Rob, what do you do? And I say, well, honestly, it seems like the past year, what I've done is translated cybersecurity legislation into, actions and goals. And I say that kind of facetiously because it seems like over the past year, we've had a tremendous amount of executive orders, pushing zero trust, as well as binding operational directives saying, hey, you got to improve on incident response and you need to expand your logging. And oh, by the way, we have these known exploited vulnerabilities that we want you to, chase. So I kind of joke with people, but the reality is what I do is I defend the network. I make certain that, the operators have the access that they need when they need it. I should say the secure access that they need when they need it, wherever they're at and whatever equipment that they're using. And then conversely, what I do is make certain that attackers, the bad guys, the hackers, don't have access to that information. So I provide defense in depth capability throughout the network.
Okay, awesome, Mr. Thorne. That was perfect. I want to start off by asking you, what are some of the challenges that federal agencies may face when integrating disparate zero trust solutions with mobile applications and mobile cloud solutions?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And I like the word, disparate, different technologies. Our goal is to actually be consistent and use similar technologies, but that's not reality. And, there are some challenges. Before I get into those challenges, I wanted to kind of set the stage a bit. If you look back to March of 2022, CISA published a document. I think it's a draft document. It was out for comment, but it was titled "Applying Zero Trust Principles to Enterprise Mobility." And I like to share that because it's a great document, even though it's draft. I don't think they've finalized it yet, but it's a great document because it provides excellent guidance and direction to any organization, that wants to start applying zero trust to mobile technologies. Definitely at ICE, we're using that to help guide us and make decisions. So I always like to throw that out there. Setting the stage further, when you look at our mobile devices in probably any federal agency, there's a number of tools and capabilities that traditionally you're going to see on those devices. So first, we've got what we call a mobile device management capability, which provides consistent policies and management on the device. It's really device level functionality. For example, hey, when you access your device, you need to use a device level passcode per se. We also have mobile application management capability, which provides policies to support our agency applications, which means protect the data of those applications. And then we have another tool called a mobile threat detection capability, which provides, looks at the behavior of the device, looks at the threats that might be on the device, and kind of gives us an idea of, what I say is, and it's not, truly, it's not antivirus, but I say, hey, it's the antivirus for our mobile devices. So knowing that, some of the challenge that we're faced with, it's really human related. It's about that consistent user experience. And it's also about the experience that the SOC analysts have when they're trying to understand what's going on that device. So, a great example of that would be, I want strong identity and access management capabilities, but we also want to make sure that we have a consistent user experience. How often should we authenticate or re-authenticate a user? So, of course, reducing those numbers of interactions would be a better user experience. So one of the things that we try to do is consistently design, create a consistent design when we're developing our mobile applications. And what I mean by that, again, I'll use authentication, multi-factor authentication. So what we want to do is when we're implementing adaptive access or context-based access, where we're looking at the posture of the device and we're making determinations on authentication, we want that to be similar across the board. We don't want one-offs. So that creates a better user experience. Another challenge that we're faced with has to do with phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication. So when we look at our laptops, we've got our PIV cards. That's a hardware token that we have. I don't want to say, hey, 20,000 people in my agency need to use a SLED and their PIV to access their mobile devices. That's a non-starter. Who wants to carry around a bunch of extra equipment just to gain access to their mobile device? So those are the sort of challenges that we're faced with, and how do we approach that? And I say phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication because we can use soft tokens, but maybe that doesn't meet the spirit of or the intent of the executive order to move away from that phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication. So conversely, from a SOC perspective, some of the challenge that we're faced with is, for example, if it's a mobile cloud solution or even a native mobile application, is data being cached on the device? And we have to understand that, and then can we protect that data? The other thing, what we need to understand is, are we getting the logs, the event logs that we need to potentially recreate an event that may occur on the mobile devices? So are we getting enough information from those devices? So if I step back to the identity management example, so we want to make sure the user is seamlessly able to access their data, but we also want to ensure that we can detect anomalies or suspicious, user behavior in order to isolate the threat and then prevent the malicious activity from occurring. And so, really, you use that term disparate, but it's really, we want consistency for the user experience, which is important for us.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Well, thank you for outlining some of the challenges that you guys are experiencing with zero trust, and more importantly, how ICE is tackling those. So I appreciate that. Mr. Thorne, in what ways does automation impact ICE's zero trust architecture and overall cybersecurity?
Yeah, automation plays a huge role in your zero trust journey. I don't think you can avoid it, nor can you be successful with zero trust if you don't have automation. So, one of the things that I talk about a lot is moving towards a more proactive cybersecurity posture versus a reactive approach. It's all about speed now. So it's the ability to identify and remove the threats from your environment. So the faster we can identify or isolate the threat, the less impact there is on the mission. I often will tell my folks, hey, it's okay. We may experience a breach, but it's how we react to it and how resilient we are and how quickly we can clean it up, and that would mean less impact to the mission. So the best way to kind of talk about automation is to explain some of the stuff here that we're doing at ICE. So for example, we're focused right now on user behavior data analytics. So this will help us make more data-driven decisions. We're very much a data-driven shop. We look at data, data tells a story, and we use it to make decisions. So again, when you look at this from a zero trust perspective, this is that adaptive or context-based access. Looking at the posture of the device and making decisions on what people may have access to or not have access to. The next thing is security orchestration, automation, and response. So we've recently implemented SOAR capability. I say recently, it's probably been about 16 months, but we've been constantly, updating and tweaking it here and there. But this helps us gain some actionable information from different security tools, and then it enables us to an automated response. And what I mean by that is it really is improving our incident response capabilities. We're also looking at artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities. This will help us identify emerging threats. I'm very much more concerned about emerging threats than any other threats. A known threat, such as ransomware, I have an opportunity because I understand that a bit more. Emerging threats are things that I'm not aware of that are coming out and they're being exploited. So I've got to quickly pivot. And so those are the most threats that I'm most concerned about. And then let's look at SecDevOps. This is going to be huge for us. When you look at one of the binding operational directives that was published in January, it talks about immutable infrastructure, which is a game changer for security. Because what that helps us do is it helps us automate patching, automate configuration management, which will make things much more proactive than reactive, and it'll actually save a lot of time for the operators as well. So I've gone through some of the technologies, but one thing that I think is always important is you can have all the tools in the world, but if you don't have the right skill sets, the tools become meaningless. So at ICE, we also invest in skill sets. So not only can we analyze the events that have occurred, but we then can quickly react and control them. And then we can take those threat tactics that we're seeing, and then we update our tools with those countermeasures to prevent them from occurring again, or to proactively be able to address them in a much faster way. So it's very important that you invest in the human resources. Another great example of this is, when I look at our logging, 2 years ago, we may have been ingesting 1.2 terabytes of data daily. Well, now we're up to almost 5 terabytes of data. If you don't automate that, there's no way that you can, quickly, remove all the false positives and get to the risks that you really want to look at. And then honestly, you get, fatigue from the analysts. So it's important that you automate that. Our SOAR product will definitely do that. And that meets one of the core principles of zero trust, which is comprehensive security monitoring. So we're well on our way. There's still a lot of work to do, but automation is going to be key in anyone's zero trust journey.
Right, right. Well, it's good to hear that you guys, ICE, is taking the proactive approach to preventing and countering these threats before they cause extensive damage, and to hear the role that automation is playing in that. Well, what is the importance of applying zero trust principles to enterprise mobility?
Well, I'll just say it's it's very important, and I could probably just leave it at that, but I'll talk more about it. When you look at mobile devices, the use of devices continues to grow. This includes, tablets, iPhones, Androids, iPads, you name it. And not only is the use growing, but we're seeing more threats directed at these devices. 2 years ago, Apple, when I look at the releases, there was, a very limited amount that were targeting vulnerabilities on the device. Now it seems like almost monthly and sometimes every other week where they're pushing out an update and it actually is remediating a high risk vulnerability that's actually being exploited in the wild. So the landscape is changing, and those mobile devices are being targeted more often. The other thing that we're seeing is our end users, our operators, they want to use mobile devices, and they want to have the same capabilities that they have on their laptops, they want on their mobile devices. So we have to take that into consideration. And we talked earlier about all of the capabilities that we have on our mobile devices. That'll enable us to build those native mobile apps and securely do that and get them access to those devices. Especially our law enforcement officers, who wants to carry around a clunky laptop when you can have everything right in your pocket? The challenges with mobile devices is they're always on. And what I mean by that is they're always connected to the internet. So we have to have those protections on our mobile devices. And the good news is, like I said before, we've got a lot of the protections in place as part of our mobile program. So we talked about the mobile threat detection capability, which will help detect and mitigate threats on the device. The other thing that we use is secure containers or sandbox. So it's what I call dual persona on the devices. So we have everything that is ICE data in a container and protect that from the native side of the device. And it's great because the end user can use it to do other things versus having it locked down where they can't do anything on the device. The other thing that I'm looking forward to with the tools that we've got in place right now is developing up what we call a mobile risk score. So this is information about the device, the apps on the device, the posture of the device. And this is going to help us as we move towards that adaptive access that I was talking about sooner. So, we can use information from our mobile threat detection capability. We can look at, for example, is the Wi-Fi connection unsecured or public connection? Is the phone jailbroken? Are there apps on the device that have vulnerabilities? And we can take all that information and make decisions on what access the individual should have. So, for example, someone might have read and write capabilities into a financial application, yet if I take that risk score and it's too low, I might say, no, today you're only going to have, or traditionally you're just going to have the read capability. We don't want you to have the write capability because you've got a risky connection, or we can't identify you at the level that we'd like to. So those are the sort of decisions that we need to automate and be able to make those decisions in real time. So again, implementing the principles and making certain that you've got them on your mobile devices is going to be key. And honestly, when I talk to my team, we've had a number of discussions. We say, hey, I think we're in a good position maybe to actually push out zero trust to our mobile devices first, and kind of use that as our test case for zero trust, because we do have such strong capabilities in place. So ongoing discussions. We'll see what we have going forward, but we have had those discussions.
Okay, awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Well, I wanted to know if you could please tell me about any cyber initiatives that ICE is currently working on.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a fun question because there's a lot of neat stuff that we're doing. I'll talk about two or three of them, and you might even get more if you get me going here. We continue to be a leader in the risk management framework, making certain that, we've got defense in depth to protect ourselves from advanced threats and breaches. As I said before, tools and resources are super important. And at ICE, we really do invest in both of those tools and resources. Again, if you can have all the great tools in the world, but if you don't have the right resources, they're useless. Some of the things that we focused on here in 2022, and the fiscal year is close to coming to an end here, but it's the core cybersecurity activities. And what I mean by that is cyber hygiene activities. And this will help us prepare for a big push into zero trust in FY23 and 24. So, if you don't have your core cyber hygiene capabilities in place, and what I mean by that is your asset management, your software asset management, your patch management, your configuration management. If you invest in more advanced security capabilities, it almost becomes meaningless because you don't understand what you're protecting. So we doubled down again this year and focused on those areas to strengthen them even more. When I look at some successes with patch management this year, last year at this time, it took us, let's say, 23 days to deploy our Microsoft patches to our devices and get to about 96% compliant. This year, it takes us 11 days. So we've implemented some automation and some capabilities. And I'm greedy. 11 days is great, but I want even more. So let's see if we can knock that down in half again. Teams are doing great there. But those are some of the things that we're working on. Vulnerabilities. It's always kind of been a challenge for us to proactively and efficiently remove vulnerabilities from the environment. So this year, what we did is we operationalized a team called that we called the ICE Vulnerability Exploitation Team. And so what they did is their job was to rapidly address vulnerabilities and identify enterprise solutions on common issues. So what we did is we looked across all of our systems and we said, this system has this vulnerability, this one does too, and this one does. So this one's something that we can work closely together to solution, and we'll reduce our attack surface. And it's been a huge success. We've been able to knock down a number of vulnerabilities that have been hounding us for some time. And the operational teams love it because what we've been able to do is provide them, a knowledge center where they can go and look at the different vulnerabilities and look at the solutions that we've got. And so they don't have to do a lot of research. We do all the research for them. So it's been a huge success, and we're going to expand that out in 23. We've also invested in what's called deception technology. This is cool because what it does is it kind of turns the traditional defense model upside down. So instead of the defender having to be right 100% of the time, it's the attacker that has to be right 100% of the time. So when you think of deception technology, often you'll think of honeypots. These are a little bit more advanced than a honeypot because we do have our security tools linked to the devices that we stand up. But this is great because what we can do is we can do some adversary profiling if someone were to trip over these devices, and we can use that information then to improve our tools, et cetera. So we're really excited about this. We've had it in the environment for the past year, and we're seeing some good and interesting information there. In 2021, we implemented Secure Access Service Edge capability. We did a proof of concept. We operationalized it in 2022, and we've seen some really great things with improved network access, and we're poised to deploy that out enterprise-wide in 23. SASE, I think, is a cornerstone of zero trust, so I'm really excited about getting that out. And then finally, I mentioned earlier about artificial intelligence and machine learning. So this year we did a proof of concept with machine learning. What we're doing is we're looking at our event logs, and what we're trying to do is kind of baseline those logs and then focus on anomalies. So it's really early into our proof of concept, but we've actually started to see some patterns and some interesting trends, which then we can help to better defend the network. So the machine learning piece might be a little bit immature at this time from a cybersecurity use case, but we're going to continue to dabble in it, and I think there could be some pretty good dividends in the future.
Okay, wow. You've blown me away here. There are many exciting things going on at ICE currently, and that's really great to hear. Well, before we conclude our conversation, is there anything you would like to add or share about what we discussed?
Well, the one thing I want to bring up is, and I think everyone says this, but when you're implementing zero trust, it's a journey. I think the executive order says, hey, you've got to meet it by fiscal year 2024. At ICE, we're making a big push to do that. I'm not certain if we're going to meet that there, but we're going to continue to push. And like you brought up here, mobile devices are going to be key. That we're continuing to expand the use, and automation is going to be very important as you implement zero trust. So, Nikki, thank you again for having me on the podcast.
You're very welcome, Mr. Thorne. That was wonderful. And I thank you for taking out time to speak with me. And I hope you have a great afternoon.
Yes, thank you. You too.
Cybercast, along with GovCast and HealthCast, is a production of GovCIO Media and Research. For more podcasts and to check out the other shows, head to govciomedia.com. Watch out for new episodes released every Tuesday and Wednesday across our shows. You can follow all of them in your favorite podcast platform, and if you like what you heard, make sure to let us know by leaving a review. And if you have any topics you think we should look into, contact us at newsletter@gcio.com.